Before we begin reading the passage for today, I want to look at one of the words that appears in the title, the word malleable. Malleable is an adjective that means adaptable and bendable or changeable, able to be formed into something. So when we're talking about the teenage brain being malleable, that means that it is able to change, it is able to adapt. And that's very important to think about as we move forward in reading this text. Before reading Teenage Brains Are Malleable and Vulnerable, researchers say, you're going to answer the questions in your reading response journal. What is the text type? And what do you understand about the text based on this information? You will have 5 minutes to answer those questions in your reading response journal. Now you will read Teenage brains are malleable and vulnerable, researchers say. As you read, consider the reading focus. How do early life experiences affect our adult brains? How does Casey's study dispel the stereotype that teens are wired to engage in risky behavior? Also, while you're reading, I want you to think about the following. What did the study reveal about how teens made decisions when a reward was involved? What do other studies presented at the Society for Neuroscience reveal about how early life experiences affect our adolescent and adult brains? You will have 10 minutes to read this selection. Now, with a partner, you will answer the question to react to Teenage brains are malleable and vulnerable, researchers say. You will write your response in your reading response journal. You will support your response with evidence from the text. The question that you're going to be answering is, how does Casey's study dispel the stereotype that teens are wired to engage in risky behavior? As you're answering this question, I want you to think about the following. What does Casey's study reveal? What stereotypes were revealed in the text? What risky behaviors did the text reveal? You will have 5 minutes to answer this question with your partner in your reading response journal. But before you do, I want you to look at some examples and sentence frames. One way you could start out your response is by saying, Casey's study dispels the stereotype that teens are wired to engage in risky behavior by revealing blank. An example of support would be, when a lot of points were at stake, teens actually spent more time studying the dots than adults, and brain scans showed more activity in the brain regions involved in making decisions. An example of the reasoning would be, this shows that rather than reacting impulsively to a reward, teens took extra time with their decision to make sure they got it right. So again, you're going to have 5 minutes to respond in your reading response journal. Now you're going to respond to this question in your reading response journal with your partner. How do early life experiences affect our adolescent and adult brains? You're going to support your response with evidence from the text. As you are answering this question, I want you to think about the following. What does the text define as early life experiences? Let's look at a sentence frame for the beginning of that response. The studies from the Society for Neuroscience suggest that early life experiences can affect our adolescent and adult brains in two ways, blank and blank. An example of evidence would be one of the studies involved 113 men who were monitored for depression from age 10 and then had brain scans at age 20. The scan showed that men who'd had an episode of depression had brains that were less responsive to rewards. The reasoning could be that this shows the importance of treating depression in young people, since responsiveness to reward was a factor that allowed teens to make decisions conscientiously and carefully. You will have 10 minutes to complete your response with your partner in your reading response journal. Now, with the same partner, you will review teenage brains are malleable and vulnerable, researchers say, and the teen brain still under construction. You will use the Argument Understanding Tool 1 to compare and connect ideas across texts. You will record your thinking and relevant supporting evidence on your Understanding tool. Be sure to include the appropriate citation for recorded evidence. As you're responding on your Argument Understanding Tool 1, I want you to think about the following. Where do the claims made about the adolescent brain align, or come together, or match? Where do the claims differ? You will have 15 minutes to complete your response. Congratulations! You have completed Section 1, Lesson 2 of the Teenage Brain Unit. Today, you determined where two texts agree and disagree regarding how brain development affects behavior, and you located evidence to support an author's claim in a text.